Star Trek TV shows are set until 2026 or later, but why does it feel like the franchise is failing? On paper, Star Trek is thriving. Paramount has greenlit multiple shows stretching through 2026 and beyond. Star Trek Discovery recently wrapped its final seasons. Strange New Worlds continues to explore the early Enterprise crew. Star Trek Picard concluded its saga, and Star Trek Section 31 promises a new, high-stakes spin-off. From a scheduling standpoint, Star Trek has never had this level of output, suggesting a golden era of content for fans. Yet, for many viewers, there's a nagging sense that the franchise is not just plateauing, it's struggling. How can a universe with multiple shows, big budgets, and star-studded casts feel like it's failing? The answer lies in a combination of creative missteps, franchise fatigue, and the challenge of balancing nostalgia with innovation. The curse of overexpansion. One of the biggest challenges facing Star Trek today is sheer volume. With 4 active series and more on the horizon, the franchise risks saturating its audience. While shows like Strange New Worlds have received critical praise for recapturing the episodic charm of classic Trek, others, particularly Discovery and Picard, have faced criticism for inconsistent storytelling. The sheer number of shows can make it feel like Star Trek is everywhere yet nowhere cohesive. Fans are often juggling timelines, crossovers, and overlapping plots, which can be exhausting rather than engaging. Unlike Marvel, which successfully interlinks its cinematic universe with careful planning, Star Trek's expanded TV universe sometimes feels scattershot, leaving audiences disconnected from the larger narrative. Nostalgia as a double-edged sword. Star Trek has always been a franchise deeply rooted in nostalgia. Picard traded heavily on the legacy of the next generation, while Strange New Worlds leans on the original series' spirit. Nostalgia can be comforting, but it can also be stifling if it prevents meaningful innovation. Some fans feel that newer shows are trying too hard to honor the past instead of charting bold, original paths. In Discovery, plot lines often shift dramatically to chase shock value or social commentary, alienating longtime fans who crave the thoughtful optimism that defined Star Trek's early years. Meanwhile, Section 31 promises darker themes that may appeal to modern sensibilities, but risk straying too far from what many consider true Trek. Creative inconsistency. A recurring complaint among fans is that Star Trek's modern shows lack a consistent vision. Discovery's first season presented a clear narrative arc with Michael Burnham's redemption and exploration of Klingon politics, but subsequent seasons veered into time travel, multiverses, and genre shifts that confused rather than captivated. Picard, similarly, started strong but ended with a mix of convoluted plotline and uneven character arcs. Without a stable creative direction, it's easy for even high-budget shows to feel disjointed. Star Trek's identity, its hopeful exploration of humanity, morality, and science, can get lost amid spectacle and trend chasing. The weight of expectations. Star Trek is one of the most beloved sci-fi franchises of all time. It set the standard for serialized storytelling, moral exploration, and cultural relevance. Today's audience is not only consuming Star Trek for entertainment, but also comparing it to decades of rich history. Every new show is held to a near impossible standard. It must honor the past, innovate for the present, and satisfy a diverse, vocal fan base. This pressure often leads to risk-averse storytelling, cross-referencing older series, or leaning on fan service, which can make new installments feel safe or worse, forced. Even technically excellent shows can fail to satisfy when the audience's emotional expectations are so high. Streaming wars and attention fragmentation. Another factor is the current media landscape. Star Trek shows are distributed across Paramount+, meaning that fans must subscribe to multiple services or navigate regional restrictions to watch everything. With so many competing franchises, Marvel, Star Wars, The Expanse, and dozens of sci-fi and fantasy series, the audience is fragmented. Star Trek no longer has the monopoly on high-quality science fiction storytelling, and its cultural footprint isn't as dominant as it once was. Shows must fight not just for ratings, but for relevance in a saturated market, which can create the impression of decline even when production values remain high. The silver lining. Despite these challenges, Star Trek is far from dead. Strange New Worlds demonstrates that the franchise can succeed by blending classic storytelling with modern production values. Section 31 has the potential to draw new viewers while exploring a darker corner of the Trek universe. The existence of multiple ongoing series shows that Paramount believes in Star Trek's long-term viability. The perception of failure is less about the franchise's actual health and more about fan expectations, creative risk-taking, and the high bar set by decades of beloved predecessors. Conclusion.